Shout out to all my conscious readers out there. It's your boy Ian from thelitunderground.com here today to give you guys a personal tour of my main bookshelves, which comprise of over 650 books. So, there are going to be genre timestamps in the summary below, and let's get started. We're moving into philosophy, and of course, at the start of every philosophy student's thing is Aristotle, everybody. There it is. Here we are, Nicomachean Ethics. Every Ivy League kid has wallowed this around and used this for some form of justification. You guys know what it is. And of course we have Augustine. Gotta have St. Augustine, man. This is a huge pivotal step with Aquinas out of the Aristotelian mindset, but it helped us move. Even if it is kind of weird. Marcus Aurelius, needs some Aurelius. Francis Bacon. This book is pretty good. There's a couple good essays in here. Francis Bacon has a bunch of trash, of course. But some of his essays and stuff on life, very, very, very good. Then my favorite book on philosophy for beginners, The Story of Philosophy. Planning on doing like a course on this book, like a 5-hour to 10-hour study on this. Will Durant, he goes over Spencer, Nietzsche, Bacon, Spinoza, Kant, Schopenhauer, Voltaire, Plato, and Aristotle, and plus a bunch of others, but not as deep. Will Durant, we'll see in a second, on the other bookshelf, is one of my favorite authors, probably top 10, if not the favorite, because he has such a wide range. Boom, we have some other stuff. We have the Trivia Method. I wouldn't really recommend this book, but look into the Trivia Method. Grammar, Logic, Rhetoric. If I asked you right now, if I told you a piece of information like the sky is blue, how would you go about discerning that? Maybe that one's too easy, but there's a process. If you ask someone, how did you come to know that information? They'd be like, well, I got told that. There are critical thinking systems, everybody, and being able to implement that when you get a new piece of knowledge is how you use critical thinking. Just using your brain isn't going to help you because you are flawed, but if you can put it through a proven system that can maybe push back against some of your biases and stuff, then you can actually come to conclusions, and that's what the Trivia Method does, and it was used in actually Catholicism for hundreds, if not 1,000 years in the school system, and lo and behold, the Catholic school system was one of the most, and Jesuits were one of the most progressive systems because grammar, logic, rhetoric, and then of course there's the quadrivium, which is the higher arts. You have to have systems to think, everybody. If you don't have a system to think, you're going to be lost. You're going to be just a raging person who's like just caught up in the storm. We have some Nietzsche, we have some Locke, we have some Kant, we have all the greats, we have The Road to Serfdom, everybody. That might piss some people off. This is a famous libertarian or trickle-down economics type book. Very good, though. Once again, if you're not reading it, you don't know. It's like, I hear all these libertarians all the time talking about postmodernism. They've never read any postmodernists. I hear all these postmodernists talking about libertarian economics. They've never read any. It's like, who the fuck are you? Like, what the fuck are you doing? You're obviously flawed, and you're so good at the knowledge. It's like, they're so good at defending the positions that if you try to bring this balanced point of view in, and like, I try to give them some Hayek or something, they'll just destroy it, but they've never even read it. They've never opened up their hearts, because a lot of people have a lot of standing. They have been standing with their ego most of all, but then they have like professors, that's their life, that's their livelihood. If you're not Hayekian or whatever, and Hayek is disproven, then you're out of a job. Then you look like the idiot. So these people defend this stuff with their life, man. And that's what we don't do that on the Lit Underground. We are live, we are here, we are reading, we are getting all different perspectives, and we're not even searching for the truth. We're trying to search for nonviolence. We're trying to make a brighter, warmer, clear, fun world with knowledgeable people, not a bunch of freaking idiots who want to start wars and kill each other. So, moving on, everybody. We are moving up the chain. Shout out to Summer for filming this. Shout out to the other half of the Lit Underground for holding the camera. Let's go up here real fast. Let's hit the top level just for some fun. We have some anthologies, but some Spanish stuff, some anthology. But right here, there's some economic stuff. We have Principles of the Political Economy, Milton Friedman, more Milton Friedman, Karl Marx for everybody. Then we have Murray Rothbard. So Murray Rothbard is one of the main anarchist or libertarian economist, and he of course gets a lot of flack. There's a lot of haters, and that's fine, but once again, the haters have never read him, just like all the libertarians never read Capital. But, and just FYI, I've read every book on the shelf, so if you guys have any questions about anything you see, let me know. But this copy right here, everybody, of Man, Economy, and State by Murray Rothbard. That was given by Murray Rothbard to my father, who at the time was doing his graduate work under Murray Rothbard. And then after that, he actually became a professor at UNLV in Las Vegas and worked with Murray Rothbard for years and Hans Hermann Hoppe for over a decade. So he actually knew them personally. So having been huge into socialist economics and that stuff, then when I kind of got wind of like Murray Rothbard, I said to my dad, like, man, there's this guy named Murray Rothbard and he's going pretty ham. He's like, oh yeah, I know that guy. And I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah, I have some books he gave me. So it's crazy though, if he never told me that, I would probably still be deep into like socialist economics, which is fine. Like I said, there's no better one really. They actually have to both be implemented. Once again, you have to have a decentralized state with the mindset of charity and the mindset and the giving mindset, and that could be used to make sure everybody's okay. So it's like both the solutions are in both. So if you don't read both, you're not going to have the solution. You're going to be blind. So then there's that. So we have some yoga stuff right here. We have some Matthew Sweeney, everybody. This is a great book. David Swenson, this guy, Patavi Joyce, sexual assault allegations against him. Up the ass, man. Fuck him. Then we have some more yoga textbooks. Then if we come up here, man, we have The Story of Civilization, everybody. Once again by Will Durant. This is, I think, a 10-volume series, 12-volume series, all probably 1,000 pages on the history of the world, everybody, until like Napoleon era. About to the time of Napoleon, you get the full history. It's a little bit outdated, but the writing is unsurpassed. Like, once again, there is a certain type of writing back in the day when you didn't have distractions and you could write and you could think. You didn't have to worry about being canceled and you could be a little bit wrong. There's a certain type of book. So Will Durant's Story of Civilization, pick up the whole set and work your way through it, everybody. Getting through this changed me more probably than any other series. Maybe because I had to read 10,000 pages and it's a pretty large fucking book, but profound changes, knowing history, man. Like, I know what happened. Do you know what happened? And guess what? It's his story. It's maybe not the truth. It could all be fake. It could be all, the winners write history. But those are the narratives that led us to now. Those are the believed narratives. So like, you have to know those or you're going to be out in the wash. So we're continuing with philosophy, everybody. More Murray Rothbard. We have a little bit of the working man's classic. Anarcho-syndicalism, theory and practice, very interesting. Once again, there's different offshoots of communism and socialism and anarchism that all need their due because each one has some viable solutions. Each one of these tries to replace a hole in like each theory. Every one of these has a utility. Boom, we have some Schelling, unknown author, friends with Hegel, colleagues with Hegel, and wrote a lot about nature and a lot about German idealism. Didn't get as big as Hegel, a little bit harder. It's hard to say it's harder than Hegel, but really good stuff in here. And actually, there's a book, Slavoj Žižek has a book on Schelling right here, on Schelling and related matters. So if you're interested, Žižek is at the end of the tunnel. If you can get through this and you get to have fun with Žižek. That's how I framed it when I read Schelling. More Žižek. We have now a Baudrillard section. We have simulacra and simulation. We have Forget Baudrillard. We have, just a couple Baudrillard books. There's probably some other ones on the shelf. There's some great Baudrillard. Origins of Totalitarianism. Great stuff to understand the Nazis. Moving on. The occult roots of Nazism. Now we're actually in psychology. I would actually call this probably starting around here. We're now in psychology. So, of course, we have Freud. I have the Peter Gay Freud biography and Civilization as Discontents. Great stuff. This is actually a pretty cool book. Uncommon Therapy, The Psychiatric Techniques of Milton Erickson. Milton Erickson was a famous and seedy and kind of weird hypnotherapist. He really led the way in hypnotherapy. So if you're interested in hypnotherapy, check out Milton Erickson. He is the OG. And this book, and there's probably another one somewhere I'll let you know about. And then, of course, got to pull this out. We have the Jung. Of course, we have Jung and Robert A. Johnson. I am doing a Jung and Robert A. Johnson course eventually, so make sure to check that out. Almost all these books are going to be covered in totality. So if you're watching this in 2040, and maybe someone will be, some random person, all of this has been covered, or I have failed. I have either died or like fallen off a track, and I'm going to be the one smoking crack. So that's what happened. So the origins of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicurial Mind. Everyone check this one out. This one's wild. Julian Jaynes. This is a theory of consciousness and underrated for sure. Course or a series, your review will be on that eventually. Boom. Now we have Uspensky, P.S. Uspensky, one of the best occultists and psychologists out there. He was a student of Juriyada, however you say his name. Great book, A New Model of the Universe. I actually have a review on my yoga channel. It's called like Nietzsche and Yoga. This is the source text for that. Then of course, one of my favorites, everybody. The course will be here. Otto freaking Rank, everybody. Here we go. Art and the Artist, Beyond Psychology, biography of Rank. You got to know about Rank. If you think that art is so therapeutic, I love art therapy. That's not your idea. That's Otto Rank's idea. And before that, people didn't really know that. That's what people don't realize, is that a lot of the ideas that you take for granted now, people really didn't understand that 150 years ago. They had these small conceptions. But Otto Rank in The Art and the Artist was the first person to lay that down, that art is a way to heal trauma. I guess we put that back. We have Wilhelm Reich, the sexual psychologist, the crazy man, the weirdo, the function of the orgasm, everybody. What is the function of the orgasm? Do you know? Maybe you do. But one of the ways that we can heal society is to learn to have extraterrestrial orgasms. Yes, I said it, because the love has to be there. You can't have an extraterrestrial orgasm if you haven't opened your body, mind, and breath through yoga, meditation, and breath exercises. The tantrics figured this out in India. Wilhelm Reich figured this out. There's a sheath around our body, mind, and soul that needs to be broken. And Wilhelm Reich was an innovator in this area. So make sure to check that out. My voice will go with you. This is another one on Milton Erickson. Check that one out. Male Fantasies. This breaks down the Nazis and fascists really hard. This is like a bombshell. Underrated. Boom. Now we are moving into critical theory, everybody. We are now in critical theory time. So, of course, we have Anti-Oedipus by Deleuze. Gotta have that on the shelf, everybody. Gonna have a full-length series on that. Shout out Doak for giving me this for Christmas. Then we have some Derrida. We have Paul de Man. Once again, another Nazi that came out. It's like Gunter Grass, Paul de Man. There's all these Nazis that get discovered. And it's funny because both times I didn't know. Everyone's like, you have to read de Man. You have to read Gunter Grass. And then I'm like, oh shit, these guys are Nazis. And yeah, there's some good stuff in here, man. The Rhetoric of Blindness. This one's really good. Boom, a great book out there on Goddess for all the people, all my ladies out there, people who are into the Goddess. It's the alphabet versus the Goddess, everybody. The conflict between word and image. This is some great stuff, everybody. This talks about how the alphabet is oppressive to women. How the alphabet, when we move into alphabetical societies, because if you think about it, us out here, we're freaking poets, right? We're creators. We use language for good. But 99.9% of language is business related, is technical related, is computer science related. That's what language is used for. People aren't reading novels. So it's crazy that those are male-dominated fields. And we can talk about why that is or whatever. But statistically, those are male-dominated fields and have been for a long time. Males did the business for whatever reason. So women in those areas have been oppressed. And hieroglyphic societies, as he shows, were way less oppressive to women. So he just kind of lays out the alphabet. Boom. Some good stuff in here we don't really need to talk about. Now we're moving into nature. Now we got kind of a nature section. We have nothing really to highlight in here, just some really good books on spiritual ecology. Now we're moving on to, let's look at one. And the one that I think everybody needs to read is John Muir's My First Summer in the Sierra. This is back in Yosemite when Yosemite was empty and not filled with a bunch of tourists and the state of California with 25 million people. This is like, he's touched this for the first time. He touched this, and great writing. Theodore Roosevelt came and hung out with him during his presidency. First time that ever happened. Do you imagine if Joe Biden took like 4 months off? Or a president takes 4 months off? Could you imagine? I couldn't. But that's what happened. I think he took 4 or 5 months off during his presidency to go see Yosemite. So now we have, of course, some Carlos Castaneda, another controversial author. Look at these colors. The Fire from Within. The Journey to Ixtlan. This is some dope stuff. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit seedy, maybe it's a little bit sketchy, maybe none of it's real, but it's real in our hearts, everybody. And that's what matters most. So, Carlos Castaneda, a lot of Carlos Castaneda. Got a guide to Aleister Crowley, everybody. Darkness, darkness, darkness. Devil worship, but not really. This is actually a great guide, the Wiser, Concise Guide to Aleister Crowley. If you're trying to get into Crowley or to occultism, I would start here. There's just some basic guides, man, about just start here, man. Don't listen to the propaganda. Crowley's a weirdo, but you're not going to be selling your soul unless you're just some fake ass Christian who still believes in that. But if you have surpassed religious consciousness and all of that, then guess what? If you've made it this far, you probably have. So let's move down to some more spirituality. Of course, we have jury death. We have, shout out to the ladies, we have Dion Fortune, one of the best female occultists out there. The mystical Kabbalah, man. If you guys want to understand the Kabbalah in a spiritual sense, you got to check this one out, man. Have to start here. This is important. I'm going to say again, this is important. If you want to understand consciousness, you have to read this. If you want to understand spirituality and what the hell's going on, you got to read this. Boom, Modern Magic. This one's pretty good for beginners. If you're a beginner, Modern Magic, 11 Message in the High Magical Arts. Boom, check this one out. Don Michael Craig. Great stuff. He actually has another book I think I have in here somewhere. Stephen LaBerge. This is great. If you're trying to learn to lucid dream, these are the two books right here. I think Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming is the better one of the two. Lucid Dreaming. So Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming. I think there's more tips in that one if I remember correctly. Lessons in Courage. This is by my old professor, Bonnie Glass Coffin. And then her book right here. Hopefully this doesn't. Oh, okay. The Gift of Life. She was studied and she's from America, but studied shamanism in Peru with female shamans and became an ordained female shaman back in the 80s, back before everyone was doing ayahuasca and a shaman. Because now it's a market, man. Like everyone's getting high. All the woke ass programmers and stuff, and all the people all the yuppies are out there doing ayahuasca, and it's just reinforcing who they are some more. So this is really good, because it's not about that, everybody. It's about the daily rituals. It's about the daily practices. It's about the mindset and the connection with nature. Ayahuasca doesn't even matter. I know a guy, man, and he makes a shit ton of money. He's in a spiritual community, but he's not really that spiritual. He loves tech, and he lives in a nice house up near Red Rock, and he never goes. He goes out to nature a couple times a year. But then he goes down to South America somewhere and, does ayahuasca. And he's like, got all these revelations. He's like, dude, you could have figured that all out. It's right in your backyard. But it doesn't care because that doesn't look very cool when you don't, that's the long-term approach. So, boom, the end of that. Now we're moving to yoga. And this is just part of the yoga section. There's some others on different shelves. But, of course, these are actually if you type into YouTube, best Yoga Sutras translation, these are the best three for all the Yoga Sutras people out there. All of Gregor Mali's books. So I have all these books by Gregor Mali right here. He's the OG author right now. This is how you spell his name, Gregor Mali. Gregor Mali. Maehele. He is the OG on all things yoga. This is a great book, breaking down and smashing Eastern spirituality in the Guru System. The Guru System is a joke. I have kind of a defunct series that I'm going to try, I guess, bring back at some point about, it's called Guru Free. We'll see about that. That will happen eventually, but that's the textbook for the course. Cool. We have some Osho in here. We have some, for those who are trying to learn Sanskrit, beginning Sanskrit, this is the top book right here. It teaches you through learning and through reading classic yoga texts like the Gita and the Sutras. This is the text to learn Sanskrit. Unless you're taking a course or whatever, but if you're trying to self-teach, that will help you a lot. We have some Iyengar. There's just a lot of stuff, honestly, if we're looking at it. Nothing really jumping out at me that needs to be covered. I mean, you guys can just look and see. And there'll be a lot of coverage on all this. So now we have how to read a book, everybody. We're moving into writing advice. This is great. If you want to learn and become a better reader, you need to learn how to read a book. Have you ever thought about how you read a book? Like the Trivium. Where the fuck's the Trivium? Like, how do you read a book? There is a method to read a book that is better, that makes you better, and a better reader. So, Mortimer J. Adler, I would recommend this highly for everybody to learn how to read a book. Then we have some writing books now. We just have a bunch of writing books. For all those people who want to learn to write sentences, this is the greatest study on great and beautiful sentences ever out here. For all my sentence people out there, this is the key. This one right here is a great book on punctuation, the best punctuation book, period, by June Casagrande. For people, it's basic, but for people who are struggling with punctuation, start there. I think that's it. A lot of this is, actually, this is the OG book right here. Attack of the Copula Spiders by Douglas Glover. I'm sure no one talked. This is unknown, but just read it. Check it out. Read the books he's talking about, the short stories. Find them. Follow this, and you will be a way better writer. This is the OG knowledge. I keep saying that, but I learned about, a professor told me about this book, and that was worth the tuition alone. School does suck, but if you're not social and you don't have a good group of readers around you, if you go there and ask people, professors for books and other students for books, then you will grow. Just like anything else, because professors are real people. I could have met that guy out in the normal world, but I didn't. So, it's like joining a fraternity. You're paying for friends. All right, so we are concluding, everybody, for the last shelf. It's a lot here. So we're still doing some writing for beginner writers, fiction writers workshop. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I would recommend this. There's actually a lot of good exercises. If you're just getting going and you follow all the exercises in this book, then you're going to be 3 times better of a fiction writer, which I think is a pretty good deal. I would say for writing The Mystery of the Seven Vowels, this teaches you a lot about vowels. If you're trying to get into sound, into poetry, this is very good. It's very short. What a beautiful cover. Oh my God. And it gets into a lot of spiritual stuff, and it's actually really important to understand the sounds of your poetry. This stuff is deep, everybody. You're trying to write things that change the world. You can't be writing no trash. You can't be writing no bullshit. This can't be stream of consciousness writing. Once that's done, what are the sounds? What are the connections? What is the map that you're trying to lay out? So, seven vowels, everybody. Now we're in history. So, I guess to start this off, Anthony Beaver, Stalingrad. If you guys want to know what happened, Eastern Front, Russia, Stalingrad, Last Stand, World War II. Brutal war, everybody. Brutal conflict. So many people starved. So many people froze to death. Zhukov's, big sneak attack around the corner. Crazy. This turned the tide of World War II. Crazy stuff. I mean, the way this battle went, we didn't even have to get into World War II. They did so good. The Russians could have won the war, but that's a different story. Battle Cry for Freedom. Best, I think, Civil War, One Piece Civil War book out there. Gotta have the biography of Patton, everybody. Gotta have some Patton, Inside the Third Reich by Albert Speer. I would also recommend, it's not on the shelf right now, but The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. But The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, that is the memento. If you read that and this, you're really gonna understand. But if you read this, this is biased. Albert Speer, he was a Nazi, right? This is not a Nazi talking. So it's gonna be very biased. So now we're kind of moving into self-help, personal development stuff. Radical honesty. If you're not being 100% honest with your spouse about your whole life, sexual partners, anything, how you feel, read this book. It will help you. This book is the best book out there on honesty. It actually changed everything. It really helped me become a lot more authentic, because it wasn't like I was lying. I just wasn't giving out all the information. Now I give out all the information. Shout out Steve Pavlina, Personal Development for Smart People. Go check out his blog, everybody. Some good stuff on there, of course. Big influence on me. Another OG. Boom. So, another underrated book that most people don't know about is Feelings Buried Alive Never Die by Carol K. Truman. And I guarantee if you follow along with the script that's laid out in this, and you do it for a couple months, you're going to experience a profound shift in your emotions. Something like you've never experienced before. And I've gained a lot from this book and her other book, or some of her other books. She is a master. Her script idea is good. It's a little bit tacky. I won't spoil it, but go check it out. So, some other good ones I like. This is more just a random story, but Eddie Would Go. This is about Eddie. I don't even know what his last name is, but he's a Hawaiian. Aiku, Edwi, Aikau. And Eddie was a big wave surfer and eventually died in a tragic accident, but I won't spoil how he went out. You gotta go check that out. It's a motivational book about living your best life. A couple other ones, the classics, man. Of course, Getting Things Done, the best book, classic book on getting organized. You don't have to use everything in it, but everyone should read that and understand the system and workflow that information needs to go through. Another one you guys have never heard of is The Type Z Guide to Success by Mark Allen. You'll see that on my other shelf too for personal development, but Mark Allen is a master about setting easy and fun affirmations and about living a life that isn't this type A, it's the type Z guide. So unless you're a type A corporate worker, check this one out. So Brian Tracy, of course, everyone's got to check out Brian Tracy, all of his books. Time Power, Eating the Frog, one of the best authors out there. Nothing else really stands out to me. You know, another fun book I have is The Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss, My Life with Terence McKenna. And here we have Dennis McKenna signing this. I hung out with Dennis McKenna for a couple hours. Listen to this. I went to this conference and Dennis McKenna was there, like selling books and giving a presentation, but no one knew who he was. Like when I mean nobody, I sat down with him at his table for 4 hours and talked to Dennis McKenna about everything, about Dennis and his life and about this and about science. And he was talking to me. He was so bored, he was asking me fucking questions. And I was like 19 years old, 20 years old. And he wrote me a nice note. He says, I hope you like this Tangled Tale. Hope you like this Tangled Tale. Hope to see you again. Dennis McKenna. So, April 2015. So, awesome guy. You know, cool stuff, man. Go check out him and his brother's books, Dennis McKenna. One of the classics in psychedelic literature. And, you know, that's about it, everybody. There's some other stuff. And so we have all this stuff right here. I would call this some of my grade B books, of course, because the shelves broke. So these are the ones that didn't get on this one. But they're still important. I still look at them eventually. We come down under here. Come down under here, everybody. We got the books under the water heater. You know, let's pick out a random. What do we got right here? Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell goes under the water heater, everybody. There's another one. You know, there's a lot of... this one's actually kind of cool. Who knows what's under here, man? Dead Kennedys. Look at that unauthorized version. Yeah, who knows? A lot of good stuff's down there. 2 of these crates up here, if you look up here, 2 of these crates have books. There's over 1,000 books in this room. Most have been read. Everybody, you got to read. No matter what, you have to read. Thank you guys for joining me on this tour. I will see you guys later. Peace.